To that story earlier promised, some have called it the Battle of the Bottle. Others have termed it as one of the longest tax disputes in the country between KEROCHE Breweries and the KRA have been at loggerheads for over a decade. Why don't homegrown manufacturers survive? Tonight on our investigation segment, Inside Source, our crimes and investigative editor, Hussein Mohammed, tells us the story of alcohol, taxes, and lies. Take a look.
It is one of the most lucrative markets in Kenya.
They were collecting 200 million every month.
A vicious market that has left some to close shop, courtesy of raw competitors unwilling to compete fairly.
He decides, I'm going to charge you on a higher level. Then what do you do?
And those roped in the struggle are not letting it go.
And I said on my dead body, they can't take it.
This is one of the longest tax disputes in Kenya, spanning several years. This is a vicious battle for the bottle. What is the hidden agenda? My name is Hussein Mohammed, and this is Inside Source. With the COVID-19 pandemic threatening to overwhelm much of Africa with a threat to jobs as companies close down, in Kenya that is not the only fear. Herein lies a wave of how local manufacturers are left to survive in the midst of a financial meltdown. For some, it has been a tough and a rough journey, literally finding themselves between a rock and a hard place.
10 years ago, when you started this KEROCHE, for how long am I going to go through this?
A burden of huge taxes have left them surviving the storm without a shade of light in sight. Such realities are known far too well by companies like KEROCHE Breweries. 56-year-old Tabitha Mukami Muigai Karanja is the face of what has now become a mega show of might between KEROCHE Breweries and the Kenya Revenue Authority.
Karanja is accusing her competitors in the market of peddling misleading information.
As DCI and KRA officers camped at the gate
over an alleged 14 billion shillings tax fraud.
I will never give up and I will remain focused. That's what keeps me. Otherwise, sometimes you close your office, you cry, you pray, but later you remember there are Kenyans watching you, so you must wake up and start fighting. But I'm here strong and now knowing the enemy, I have known now where you are heading to. I know now you want to take over my brewery, and I said on my dead body, they can't take it.
Mkopo haijuagi kama ni kugojeka ama ni nini inaendelea kwa biashara yako, ni lazima ulipe. So tuna end up kuachwa na loans na biashara imeenda. So hakuna wakati tunaweza kusema tumeendelea.
Everything about the show that is not ending yet is easy to see, but difficult to understand. A dispute of 9 billion shillings in taxes. For over a decade, the Naivasha-based brewer has been embroiled in a tussle with the taxman. For the 14 years, Tabitha has told Inside Source that her company has been in dispute with KRA of some alleged tax evasion for a non-existent drink. KEROCHE stopped producing the drink in 2007.
The problem that is being facing KEROCHE is not only KEROCHE that is at that risk. If somebody can be given such power, so no business that is safe. We are operating in a vacuum. Because today, tomorrow, they can come and tell you, by the way, the excise we've been paying or the VAT we've been paying, we gave you a wrong tariff or we gave you a wrong tax. So then later they give you this demand. So everybody can shut.
In the middle of it all is this multi-billion shillings plant in Naivasha, KEROCHE Breweries, a company which thrives in manufacturing high-quality and low-alcoholic beverage. In 1997, it started making wine known as Vienna fortified wine. It got its time of fame, and while it was almost at the peak of its glory, About a decade later, the Kenya Revenue Authority knocked on its doors. That was in 2006. KRA said it had made a mistake in its previous classification of tax for the drink. KRA then chose to classify the products on a higher tax tariff, which increased the tax rate to 22%.
You keep on your cars are arrested, your whatever. Are we back in the old days, 10 years ago, when you started this KEROCHE? For how long am I going to go through this?
KRA backdated it to 5 years and demanded 1.1 billion shillings in tax from KEROCHE. What KRA wanted from KEROCHE is tax for drinks that had already been consumed 5 years earlier. KEROCHE could not take the blows any further. In 2007, Vienna fortified wine was priced out of the market thanks to huge taxes imposed by the state.
If a product that we've innovated for the low-end market is now taxed higher than a whiskey, the tax applied to this product was to be higher than a brandy that you know, the most expensive whiskey that you know, that per liter of it you're paying higher in this product that you're supposed to send to the low-end market. What are you trying to say?
KEROCHE later introduced Vienna Ice Ready to Drink. 7 years later, in 2014, KRA came knocking again, and this time disputed the formula used in taxing and demanded that the water used in mixing be heavily taxed. KRA changed the tax tariff on the product and backdated it to 3 years. They asked the Naivasha brewer for 6.1 billion shillings in tax. The script was similar.
300 ml of water. So I should pay this 312 ml water that I added, same tax rate as this vodka that is down here. We argued to them that even if would KRA go to the bars and wait for customers when they are adding water to their whiskey and tell them now you have half a liter, you should pay for the extra water that you've added. So in principle, we did not accept the charges they wanted to put on this product.
If somebody was told to pay 20 shillings in this water, he paid you all those years. So how do you come back to him? Unless you say, no, it was not 20, it was supposed to be 25. Then the 5 shillings, we will backdate it for 5 years. So you sold at 20. You didn't sell at 25. They know very well you can't get that money from anywhere. So they shut you.
The two were also ordered to submit their passports.
This was the start of the unending circus in what has developed to arguably being the longest tax dispute in Kenya.
Let not what the Lord has put together be cast asunder.
A good book dictates that you give to Caesar what is due to Caesar.
Documents seen by KTN News Inside Source reveal a story of puzzlement, entanglements at play as the taxpayers try to contextualize the dilemma as it unfolds. A dilemma that saw her competitors' tax be zero-rated while her products were on a deathbed. In what alcohol giant perceives as witch hunt, focused at pushing her out of the market to benefit multinational investors. What is the hidden agenda? How did KRA incur a mistake in both times? How and why is the brewer supposed to pay for the mistakes of the taxman? But what raises more no doubt on this KRA narrative is the fact that the tax collector has offices stationed at the plant in Naivasha. Essentially, they are part of what happens at the Naivasha-based company. They conduct audits and have never raised any issue about the wrong tax classification or tax evasion.
On a daily basis, they know what we are doing, and when we have issues, for example, on their systems which may stop our operations, we inform them. So in terms of them knowing what we do on real-time basis, they do have the same. And there is no time that KRA will say, I did not know what KEROCHE did the past 1 year. They know it on a minute-second basis.
In 2007, the dispute found its way in Parliament. Former Trade Minister Omingo Magara, who was a member of the parliamentary committee that handled the dispute, told Inside Source In legislations all over the world, tax cannot work retrospectively. Even when the government brings new tax legislation, it does not work backwards. It starts from the time the tax law comes into force. In the same year, Justice Joseph Nyamu quashed KRA demands. Nyamu ruled that KRA demands and actions was an apparent and transparent abuse of power. The judge stated that the reclassification of KEROCHE's products had a direct bearing on the pricing, and backdating the tax was unfair, oppressive, irrational, and constituted an illegality aimed at aiding KEROCHE's competitors. In short, the court fell short of declaring that KRA was helping competitors throw KEROCHE out of the market. 10 years later, the appellate court upheld the High Court decision but allowed KRA to issue new tax notices accompanied by supporting documents. The two courts had agreed that KRA was engaging in an abuse of power.
The account petty cash for the border.
As all this was happening, a similar wave of the battle between multinationals and a local Kenyan company hit a local household drink softer, which was forced out courtesy of the high taxation and unfair competition, aided or seemingly aided by the taxman.
On the market, we had 10,000 people employed and earning from softer. And that was powerful and effective. Today, where are those 10,000 people? They thank me, they see me in the street and say, Peter, you supported us. Peter, I was your disputer. Peter, I was your employee. But then they're in the street.
Kuguru, who closed Softer Drinks Limited, told KTN News Inside Source that it's not all about tax for KEROCHE, but multinationals who are jealous of a local entrepreneur taking a share of their market.
It could be that these multinationals are not only 100% multinational. Some senior government officials are shareholders of these companies, or they are partners with them. So you end up finding that they take our bottles, they break them, they go and pay a certain outlet in the market to remove our product from the market. So the fight was hard and expensive. So eventually we reached a stage as family and we said we can't continue.
A market which has now become toxic for anyone daring to compete. If his sentiments are true, then why would the government help multinationals fight its own business?
So you can find our competitors were getting money from America, from South Africa, from other sources, and they were getting cheap concentrates from here. They were getting cheap formulations and technology. We were homegrown, and everything was local. We were employing a lot of people, and everybody was being paid local money.
Even you ask yourself, KRA want to shut it. They were collecting 200 million every month in KEROCHE. So why would somebody want to call? Who will benefit after you close? We go home, the Kenyan government, economy, because those 200 or 300 people, they have nowhere to take them. The distribution everywhere is nowhere. And then KRA will not collect the 200 million they were collecting every month. So who will benefit? It's a multinational. So for me, I'm fighting.
August of 2019, detectives raided her house in a dramatic fashion. Tabitha and her husband were arrested to answer to 10 counts of tax fraud between January 2015 and 2019. The DCI rode on media publicity. They wanted it all to appear on camera. They set the narrative and agenda for the country, but never talked about the underlying issues.
Hey, madam. When I was caught and pulled out of my office in a broad daylight, I remember meeting one man, and he's 70-something years, and he told me, Tabitha, I had wanted to start a business, whether it was true or not. But looking at what you've gone through, I can't. So if he's talking at 71 years, 72, imagine somebody who is now in school, graduating now, looking at what I'm going through. I don't think so. It's discouraging.
The other day I saw them arresting this lady of KEROCHE and her husband. You know, when you do that way, you kill the industry. So you kill the duck that lays you the golden egg. So how will you get a golden egg in the future?
This as the tiff between KRA and KEROCHE went to the tax tribunal. The tribunal in March delivered a ruling in favor of KRA. But what was puzzling is that the two issues and the tribunal totaled to 7.2 billion. That is 6.1 billion being sought by KRA and 1.1 billion. Instead, KRA demanded 9.1 billion Kenya shillings from KEROCHE. The greatest riddle is how a business worth 10 billion will owe the state 9 billion in tax.
If you are charged 14 billion tax, which is about the rate of taxation, as you know, is 30% corporate tax. How much money would they have paid, would they have earned in order to make a tax bracket over and above the profit of 14 billion? They would have earned what countries, the whole country is earning. Yeah, they would have earned what Exchequer is, they would have earned 1.3 trillion. What Exchequer is earning to pay that tax. So the government needs to assume, to calculate with humanitarian value to see actually how much did that company make profit.
The court agreed to put on hold the tribunal's decision, but ordered KEROCHE to pay 500 million Kenya shillings within 30 days. The taxman, in a usual fashion for state agencies tasked with responding to issues, has denied claims that it discriminated KEROCHE in classifying its products, stating that they have always enforced decisions made against all taxpayers without any segregation. According to Francis Muirori, who is KRA's chief manager for large taxpayers' office, said that the company should not act as victims in the circumstances and should blame themselves for failing to have their products classified under the correct tax tariffs. With questions arising about the amount of tax, this is putting in doubt any other cases of tax evasion.
My daughter, one of my daughters, I don't know to say which one, she said, hey, now after looking at this, mom, I think I need just to be an employee. So she cannot think, and that's one of the people who have done entrepreneurship in the highest universities of this world. She says, no, I can't.
Hussein Mohammed, KTN News, Inside Source.